serious.
Is it possible to write a villain with no redeeming qualities, yet have the audience absolutely love them? I'm a professional screenwriter and I make videos on this channel where I give tips and advice on the art of screenwriting for film and television. And I've been having a surprisingly good time doing it too. So today's video is going to be a fun one. We're going to talk about how to write villains in your screenplays that we love to hate. To do that, I've chosen one of the most popular villains in cinematic history and pop culture, Batman's greatest foe, the Joker. I'm specifically going to analyze Heath Ledger's Joker in The Dark Knight from a screenwriting perspective, why this kind of character build for a villain works, the ways in which you can implement such a framework into your own screenplays, and the dangers of creating a villain who has absolutely no redeeming qualities.
Let's put a smile on that face.
Are you ready to begin? Writing a good villain is one of the more enjoyable aspects of screenwriting, and a few years ago I taught a class on writing a great antagonist. I told my students it was important the villain had at least one redeeming quality that the audience could relate to or understand. This is something I was told when I started writing. But then we have this guy, the Joker. Chaos personified, unexplained, uncompromised, mayhem. Not only did Heath Ledger's Joker work, he turned out to be one of the most iconic villains in Hollywood history. This villain was as irredeemably evil as he was irresistible. Whenever I get a contract on a commission for a screenplay, I typically work on my outline, which would include a character breakdown for all the main players. The main antagonist or villain would be a major part of that. The instinct of many writers, especially if you're new, is to create villains that embody everything negative or evil in your story. The thing is, your reader isn't going to be fascinated purely by how evil your character is. They'll be drawn in by what motivates those characters. Even in the twisted mind of the Joker, he has a philosophy, an agenda. You know what? Instead of me saying it, I'll let him tell you.
When the chips are down, these civilized people, they'll eat each other. See, I'm not a monster.
You see, the Joker in The Dark Knight isn't written as chaos for the sake of chaos. He is chaos because he's making a point about society, about us. He's saying we are a hair's breadth away from being him, from tearing each other apart. That is what makes him compelling, because with every overturned truck or blown up hospital, we want to turn the page or watch the next scene to see how far this madman will go. His redemption is the last thing on our minds because we're more focused on something much more personal, what this villain is saying about ourselves. So how do you integrate this into your own screenplay? It isn't what the villain does, but why they do what they do. Irredeemable villains need a philosophy that resonates in some way with the audience. That's what makes them engaging. In order for a villain with no redeeming qualities to work, he cannot be boring, ever. The Joker isn't just a villain, he's a showman. His mannerisms, his voice, the way he says,
"Why so serious?"
while holding a knife to his victim's face, it all makes him irresistible. We're human. Evil fascinates us, especially when it's exhibited in actions we'd never dream of doing ourselves, but know we're capable of. When you execute this in your writing, the reader can't help but turn the next page. Your audience cannot look away. So one of the tricks to doing this is to make your villain charismatic. It is this charisma that makes your character's villainy much easier to digest, or even better for your story, makes the villain the star of the show. So how can you make your villain more charismatic to make them irresistible? There are three basic ways to achieve this. One, give the villain a unique way of speaking or dialogue.
Where is Harvey Dent?
Two, give the villain an identifying physicality. And three, the most important of all, have the villain's actions be unpredictable.
It's gone.
In that mob scene in The Dark Knight, we see how the Joker's unpredictable behavior entrances not only the mobsters, but us as the audience. His redemption is irrelevant when we're so anxious to see what he'll do next. So, we've established that one of the reasons the Joker works so well is his unpredictability. He doesn't just stick to one plan, he thrives on chaos. As a writer, this is a goldmine for keeping your audience on edge. When a villain is unpredictable, it creates tension. Tension is great for any story. We don't know what they'll do next, and that suspense is key to making them engaging. This is what you must consider in your writing if you decide to create a villain with no good qualities. The Joker doesn't follow the typical villain path of wanting power or money.
All you care about is money. This town, it deserves a better class of criminal. And I'm gonna give it to him.
He wants to prove a point, and he'll do it in the most chaotic, shocking way possible. So use ambiguity and backstory to add layers to your villain. Even a brief hint at their past can give your character more depth without redeeming them. No one knows how the Joker got his scars.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
He tells one story to gamble.
My father was a drinker and a fiend.
And then he tells another to Rachel.
So I had a wife, beautiful, like you, who tells me I worry too much, who tells me I ought to smile more.
There's a lot going on beneath the madness. We don't need to know exactly what, but the fact he tells these different stories of how he got the disfiguring scars makes him even more fascinating. This actually makes his irredeemable evil more intriguing because we begin to use the one thing any good writer should aim to evoke: the audience's imagination.
Everything burns.
The Joker might be a monster, but those glimpses into his past make us wonder, what turned him into this? Now, this can be controversial in some cases, but as a writer, you have to be willing to push boundaries in terms of the moral line between your heroes and villains. In other words, what makes them different isn't as compelling as what they have in common. A great villain isn't an obstacle for the hero. They challenge the hero emotionally.
I want you to do it, I want you to do it.
They push the hero's moral limits and make them question everything they stand for. In The Dark Knight, the Joker isn't just trying to kill Batman. He's trying to make Batman break his one rule, to show that even someone as righteous as Batman can fall into chaos. I'm a huge Batman fan from before there were any movies to speak of. So I can tell you he's essentially the same as the psychopaths he puts in Arkham Asylum. He just happens to direct his rage at the villains instead of society. That's why the tension between Batman and the Joker is so intense. The Joker doesn't need to overpower Batman physically. He's playing a mental game that's far more dangerous.
You complete me.
Batman is the Joker, and the Joker is Batman.
To them, you're just a freak. Like me.
When writing an irredeemable villain, think about how they challenge the hero on a deeper level. What emotional or moral struggle does your villain force the hero to face? So, what actually makes the Joker so powerful is that we know he'll never be redeemed. There's no moment of reflection, no remorse. The Joker is fully committed to his path of chaos, and that unwavering commitment makes him a force to be reckoned with. It scares us, and we like it. As a writer, if you want to make your villain irredeemable, you have to commit to it. This certainty keeps the villain terrifying. If you want to dive deeper into screenwriting techniques and analysis, make sure to sign up to my newsletter linked in the description below. And if you want to learn more about the art of screenwriting in general, check out these playlists right here.